What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Inside the Vinyl. I'm your host, Tim Bianconi. If you would go ahead and like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel below, that would be greatly appreciated. If you could also hit that notification bell so you can be notified when we put out new content, that would be appreciated also. So today, we're going to get back into my live album series and talk about an album that I recently, I guess I've had it for a little while, but I recently picked up a better copy, blah, 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 you know, and now I feel like I have like a really, really pristine copy of this, and I'm super stoked about that. And that would be Ozzy Osbourne's Speak of the Devil from 1982. So let's go ahead and pull that out of the protective plastic there. Go ahead and get this set up on here. All right, so this album was originally released on November 22nd of 1982. It was recorded September 27th of 1982 at the Ritz Club in New York City. It was released on the Jet/Epic label. Produced by Max Norman, who would later go on to produce albums by Megadeth and other people. It reached as high as number 14 on the Billboard charts and has been certified platinum by the Record Industry Association of America. So let's go ahead and take a look at this bad boy. So like I said, I had a copy of this originally, and it was a decent copy. Nothing's, you know, like the cover was a little beat up, but it was in good shape. And then I was at one of my local record stores, and they had an absolutely beautiful copy of this as far as the cover and everything is concerned, which is this one right here. But it was missing one of the records. So I got it for like 10 bucks, and I came home and I, you know, basically pieced together all the best pieces of both of them, and of course added the missing record to this, which my records were in great shape, so, you know, no loss there. So I've got what I consider to be an absolute pristine copy of this album. So again, front cover, back, and if we open up the gatefold, we see, actually I got to turn it kind of sideways. Hopefully y'all can see that on the camera, but a cool picture of Ozzy. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at the records here. You know, even got, you know, original, you know, inside sleeves there, which I think are really cool. All right. And then just standard black vinyl with the Jet Record sticker in the middle. So there's record 1. Record 2 looked exactly the same. Yeah. So like I said, I was pretty stoked. You know, sometimes, you know, I've heard it referred to as Frankensteining as far as, you know, piecing records together and all that like that. I don't know if there's anything else. I don't think there is any sort of like inserts or anything like that with this. So anyway, there you go. Again, second record looks the same as the first. So this album is the only album he made with Brad Gillis, who would then later leave and go back to Night Ranger and have success there. It was the first release after Randy Rhoads passed away, and again, the only release they did with guitarist Brad Gillis. And all the songs on here, there's no Ozzy songs, there's no Crazy Train, there's none of that. All the songs on here are just him playing Sabbath tunes. And let's see, and I think even a few of the tunes, like maybe some of the stuff on side 4, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't actually recorded in one of those concerts. It was actually recorded at a sound check, which I think had something to do with they were going to include a few tracks from Randy Rhoads, and then they didn't, but they still needed those tracks, so they recorded them like at a sound check or something like that. I might have all that mixed up, but it's something like that. I know there's at least a few songs on here that weren't recorded in front of an audience, but of course, you know, studio magic, they added the audience later, blah, 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 whatever. Who knew until I read about it? I don't know. So the story on this one is that Sharon Osbourne, Ozzy's wife, had this album came out a month or so, maybe 2 months before Black Sabbath's Live Evil with Dio came out. And the story behind this is that Sharon released this album to kind of sabotage Black Sabbath's live album release, which of course led to further dissension between the two camps and all. And as far as I know Ozzy says he's not a big fan of this album, and I mean, you know, who knows why. I don't think all his other albums have had vinyl reissues, I think, except this one. Now, this one was included on some of the CD remasters and reissues, but I don't think there's ever been a proper vinyl reissue of this. But again, if you find a perfect copy like this, I don't need a reissue. So pretty stoked to have this. Actually, I love this record. I think it's great. I think it sounds great. You know, I'm not Mr. Audiophile, so I can't be like, oh, I can hear right there. That was done at soundcheck. That's not me. I just think the record's great. I mean, I'm sure there's studio tricks and corrections just like there is on just about every single live album you've ever heard in your life, no matter what the band tells you. So, you know, it is what it is. It's a fun album. I think it's great. You know, I think it was, despite whatever Sharon may have been doing, I think it was a really cool thing for him to go back at that point and revisit the Sabbath songs and have his own versions that he could use for licensing or greatest hit sets or whatever he wanted to do with any of it, you know, somewhere down the line. So not a big deal to me. I actually think, I mean, nothing against Black Sabbath. Live Evil is good, you know, with like Dio and all that, but there's something with the mix and like you can barely hear the audience and all that just really just turns me off to it. This one right here, there's none of that. You know, the performances are great. Everything sounds great. Everything, you know, no matter what fixes they might have had to do, everything to me sounds really loose. The audience is great. I mean, I think it's a cool live record, and I don't think it really gets the attention it deserves. But again, how can you go wrong? You've got Ozzy on vocals, you've got Brad Gillis on guitar, you've got Rudy Sarzo on bass, and you've got Tommy Aldridge on the drums. I mean, you know, there's not a much better all-star band you could put together than that. So how could this not be great? You know, so check it out. Find a cool old vinyl like this if you can, or if not, just check, you know, Apple and Spotify and all your streaming services and check it out. Really cool. Ozzy playing nothing but, you know, his Sabbath tunes in 1982. So that's all I've got for you this time. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel below. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified when we put out new content. I've got the rest of my Inside the Vinyl series where we talk about live albums. We also talk about lost classics, albums that I think everyone should hear that may have just got kind of swept under the rug. I've got my unboxing series where we open up new albums, we open up reissues, we open up box sets, mostly vinyl, sometimes they're CDs, it just depends on what's coming out. I've also got some concert footage from random concerts and festivals over the last several years. And I've got 2 documentary style films that I did for school. They're very short. One's about a local amateur disc golfer here in Jacksonville, and the other one is about the fire that took away my house and normal recording area. You know, so check those out. And there's some other things out there too. So like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.